The media continue to push the narrative that America is inherently a racist country, and we have the governor of Arizona declaring a state of emergency because of the border crisis, and I have a lot to say about that. Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Before we get into our lead story today, please take a moment to hit that like button. It does help the YouTube algorithm push my video out there to viewers who have not seen my channel or my content. And if you enjoy the Bald Brad Show, please make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button so you're notified whenever we go live, which is every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we also have a special episode coming out this Saturday with Arthur Quan Lee. It is a long-form podcast discussion, so if you have that bell notification on, you'll be notified right when that video goes live, so stay tuned for that. And for our lead story of the day, it comes from our friends over at Blaze Media. It is written by Daniel Horowitz, and he titles it, Media Coverage of Columbus Shooting Exposes Their BLM Agenda as a Fraud. Now, what happened was there seemed to be some sort of family altercation, or at least you got these teenagers fighting one another, and you had the police show up, and there's many police officers on the scene, and well, one person gets kicked in the head, and then one of these 16-year-old girls, last name Bryant, starts wielding a knife and goes after a chick's neck with the knife, and the cop shoots the person dead. Let's take a look at this clip.
Hey! What's going on? Hey, what's going on? Hey, 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 get down, get down, get down, get down.
No, you ain't shoot my fucking baby. You shot my baby. Are you fucking serious? I swear to God, you killed me fucking shot. Are you stupid? Are you fucking serious? She shot.
Back up.
Is she shot?
She had a knife, she just went at her.
She's a fucking kid, man. Damn, are you stupid? A fucking kid?
Now, for me sitting back, this is a good shoot. It is required, I don't want to say required, but it is a part of an officer's training to not just save his own life, but the life of others as well. So this is a clear-cut, good shoot. And is it sad to see this person make a very horrible, individualized decision that's nothing to do with a race? Absolutely. It is very sad that this woman decided to pull out a knife in front of police officers and then proceed to charge another individual and try to stab them in either the head or the neck, and then you get killed because of it. Now, these people are crazy because they are kicking each other, trying to fight each other in front of the police officers. They don't even care. They do not care. And this girl is now being portrayed as, you know, some Miss Princess when she tried to kill somebody. And this is what the agenda is. This is what the narrative is that the left, celebrities, and the White House are pushing, and I'll get to that in a moment. But Horowitz starts off by saying, it's clear as day from the video coverage or video footage that 16-year-old Columbus, Ohio resident, Miss Bryant, was swinging a knife at another girl, and cops told her to put the knife down before shooting her. Yet the media are still stoking another Floyd mob outrage over this incident and is insinuating that she might not have had a knife at all. So you're seeing that the media, there's people out there that are twisting this narrative, even though in the video, you can actually see this woman, this young teenager, wielding a knife with your own eyes. And now they're at the point where they're twisting things so bad, creating such a bullshit story that they're telling you that she doesn't have a knife, even though with your own eyes, you could see the actual knife in her hand as she's going to stab the person. It would be like me holding up this book saying, there's no book in my hand. What do you mean? There's no book in my hand. There's no novel here. What the hell are you talking about? That's exactly what they're doing. They're taking reality and making us all seem like we don't see the correct thing, or they're make-believe, or whatever it is. This is how crazy this stuff has gotten. And it's scary, folks. When you get to this point where you're claiming that we're not seeing things that we're actually seeing, it starts to get a little bit scary. It goes on to say, they don't care that police were saving a black victim of an attempted homicide. It is this mentality and media strategy that will continue to result in thousands of more homicide victims, mainly black. Absolutely right. We've talked about it time and time again on the show. You are not necessarily hurting white communities. Some of them you are, because police aren't going to want to go patrol in low-income areas, which affects all races, not just African-American. But you're also going to have police officers that are going to hear the description of whatever's taking place, the suspect and the victim, and they're going to go, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm going to let them figure it out. And they're not going to want to go in and patrol these areas. And so what you're going to see is a teenager yielding a knife, and they're going to stab somebody and kill him. And then, people are going to wonder where the cops are. And then they're not going to be able to fathom why the cops didn't show up. And then it's still going to be racism, right? So it's racism if you kill somebody that's trying to stab another person. It would have been racism if the cop didn't have shoot the girl. They would have said racism. The cop killed the girl, it's racism. If they don't go patrol the area, it's racism. So no matter what you do as a police officer, it's racist. So it's a catch-22. And I don't know who would want to be an officer today. I have many friends. My family members were police officers. My grandfather was a police officer. My father was a police officer. My friends are police officers. I don't know why you'd want to do that profession. Now is the time to think about a career switch. I know some of you have been in it for a while. You're looking for that pension. I totally understand that. I get it. Maybe transfer to a nice area. But you're not helping the situation, meaning the media is not helping the situation by promulgating this type of narrative. You are only going to hurt low-income areas or the African-American community, and also, again, other communities as well. Not just them, but predominantly it's going to mainly hurt Black Americans, and we'll get to that in a second as to why. The New York Times claims officials said Bryant had a knife rather than publishing the truth that the video shows she had a knife. Black Lives Matter is still on the attack and acting as if police officer or the policeman murdered Bryant in cold blood. The AP tweeted, police shot and killed a teenage black girl in Columbus, Ohio, just as the verdict was being announced in the trial for the killing of George Floyd. Body cam footage appeared to show the girl attempting to stab two people with a knife. Now, when people see the headline that a police officer shot and killed a black teenage girl in Columbus, Ohio, they're not going to take the time to read the actual article and maybe not even watch the video. Maybe they will. But when you have people already out in the street that think that America is systemically racist, that police officers are killing unarmed black men and upwards of 10,000 plus unarmed black men a year, do you really think that these people are going to go and read the article and actually learn something? I don't think so. They already think this stuff's happening, and it shows you that they don't know how to go look at statistics. It shows you that they don't want to go out of their way to actually counter their own narrative, counter to their own thinking. They can't go outside the box. God forbid you do that. God forbid you question yourself. But this is the stuff that's being pushed, that America is inherently racist. And this is why I say they're going to destroy this country from the inside out. It's the Trojan horse all over again, and they're going to destroy the great city Troy, which is now called the United States of America. It goes on to say here, this is where we are in America today. Anytime police are forced to shoot a violent criminal who happens to be black, again, happens to be black, keyword happens, not because they are black, that has nothing to do with it, has everything to do with them making a terrible decision in that moment of time that got them shot, that got them killed. The expectation is that there is a right to riot. The nerve of police to defend victims on the declared George Floyd verdict day. They should have taken the day off, according to the AP. Well, it might come as a shock to those who live in the gated neighborhoods, but violent criminals don't take a break for the Derek Chauvin trial. Shocker. And this is, again, how disconnected these people are from reality. And the same people, right? The same people that don't want guns are the ones that be crying for the police when a person like this young 16-year-old girl, Miss Bryant, comes at them wielding a knife. What are you going to do then? But they don't think about that, right? Because they think it will never happen to them. And statistically, it probably won't happen to you. But the cost is too high. What is the cost? The cost is your life. You make one mistake, you're done. This girl, this 16-year-old girl, made one irrational mistake. Maybe she made a lot of mistakes before that in her life, but she made one drastic mistake and it cost her life. If the cop didn't have made a mistake, somebody would be dead as well. But the cop did not make a mistake here. Hopefully I phrased that correctly, but you know what I mean. The cop needed to do what he needed to do, and he saved the life at the expense of another life. But that expense of the other life was forfeited because, again, you tried stabbing somebody in the neck or the face. You deserve to get shot. Multiple times. Just consider how often police encounter violent criminals who happen to be black. Let's go over the statistics here. ready to get your mind blown. According to the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting in 2019, there were 16,425 reported homicides. 16,425. Over 20,000 in 2020. 268,000 robberies. 821,000 aggravated assaults reported by police. Many more unreported incidents, including over 4.8 million assaults, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics. There were also 1.1 million burglaries and nearly 7 million property crimes. Most of the latter categories are not considered violent, but many violent criminals commit those crimes and get violent when the police confront them. And then they wonder why they either get thrown to the ground, they wonder why they get tased, they wonder why sometimes they get shot, because they're being violent towards police officers, and the officer wants to go home and see his kids grow up. God forbid. God forbid a officer wants to protect his own life so that he can go and support his family, so his children can grow up with their father and actually turn out okay. Because we all know, as conservatives, what happens when people don't have two parents in the household, a mother and father. Things go chaotic for that child. Officers have every right, just as every other individual does, to protect themselves for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That goes for them as well, not just citizens. Now consider the fact that roughly 51% of those arrested for murder are black. 53% of those arrested for robbery are black. 33% of those arrested for aggravated assault are black. 35% of those arrested for stolen property are black. 42% of those arrested for weapons violations are black. Now, that is statistics based on your race. It just so happens, that the amount of melanin in these people's skin is what's being attributed to these statistics. What this is really saying, and I can't be more clear about this, it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. Everything to do with culture. It's not just black people getting arrested for armed robbery, it's all races. It's not just black people getting arrested for aggravated assault, it's all people, all races. What is happening here is on an individual basis, somebody is making incorrect decisions that so happens to be black. But for you to say that America is a racist country is patently false. It's ignorant and it's completely wrong because you're destroying the social fabric of this nation. And this is why I don't have a lot of news stories today, because this is important. For us to move forward as a country, the false narrative needs to stop that America is a racist country. If you're committing crimes on this kind of level, 51%, 33%, 35%, 42%, how much of the population does the African American population represent? It is small. I think it used to be roughly 13%. That's probably gone up. The statistics on that's probably different, so please don't hold me to that. But when 13% of the population is making 51% arrests for murder, there's a problem. Or violent crimes. 51% for murder here, 53% for armed robbery, 33% for arrested aggravated assault, 35% arrested for stolen property, etc., etc., etc. Well, if you're having that kind of turnout on crimes, you're probably going to witness or encounter a police officer a lot more than maybe other races. Just saying, right? So if you're encountering police officers that much, you're doing something wrong. I can count on one hand in the 32 years of my life that I've encountered a police officer 3 times. 3 damn times I've ever encountered a police officer, all of which were pulled over for traffic violations or something like that. Didn't have a blinker on, or we got hit with a cell phone ticket. You know, whether I agree with the ticket or not, you know, did I do something wrong? Maybe. Even though, again, the cell phone ticket, I don't think was my fault. We can go into that another time. But you got to believe me. You got to believe me. I didn't do it. But what I'm saying here is the statistics do not support what the media and the leftist narrative is pushing. And I want to slow my speech down and be very clear about these statistics. Again, for those that are new to my show, not only was an accountant, but I'm also a statistics teacher. I teach this stuff. That doesn't mean I know everything, okay? That doesn't mean I'm putting myself on a pedestal. You can learn statistics yourself. Truthfully, it's not that hard. It goes on to say here, among juveniles, the numbers are even starker. 62% of robbery arrests and 405 aggravated assaults among those under 18 to 2019 were black. So 62% of robbery arrests, not necessarily armed robberies, but robbery arrests. I want to make sure I get that clear. That means there are millions of police encounters with violent criminals, especially juveniles, for committing serious crimes who happen to be black. Again, that keyword is happened. If the media standard is now to report on every single case where the suspect is killed, rather than focusing on the source of the problem, violent crime, there is simply no way the police can operate under anyone's construct of policing. So there is no way. They're in a catch-22. There's nothing police officers can do to not be racist. That's the situation we are in. There's nothing these men and women of law enforcement can do not to be racist. If you're a black man, you will still somehow be racist. If you shoot somebody or you commit some violent act against a criminal that's beating the shit out of you. It is crazy, folks. This is very serious. This is actually very serious, and I like to look at politics as comedic. I love to not take it seriously. But when I see this happening in our country, this to me is scary. Because you have people that are living a false reality that can't question their own ideas. And they're looking at the media as sources. And even in my own book, I stated that I don't think the media are the enemy of the people. If they keep pushing this kind of narrative, before that book ever gets published, if it does, I am going to change that. Because you are patently lying about things regarding America that are false. And you're pushing a false narrative that is now having businesses destroyed. People are hurting one another. You're dividing our country more than ever. Your own reporters are being hurt. Public and private property is being destroyed. You're calling just the right wing racist for no reason, even when we're saying, look, we're not into race. We are into the individual decisions somebody makes. And we're very clear on it, by the way. And by the way, the left is very clear on their idea of always having race involved in everything. So, I mean, they're very clear on identity politics as well. I don't know why we're always considered the racist when we just question things and go, well, let's look at each individual case and see what happens. Are there going to be cases of racism? Yeah, we understand that. But when you attribute all shootings to racist and it's the system that's out to get you, it's a little false. I shouldn't say a little. It's very false. And we have people like the media, celebrities that are pushing this narrative. The outcome of this new paradigm is unmistakable. Police have much more incentive to allow the victim to be stabbed than to risk their lives by shooting the perpetrator. That is already happening. Last year, shootings involving children were up a whopping 43% in Philadelphia. 96% of them were black. This is the legacy of Black Lives Matter. They are sacrificing black victims of crime as well as all victims to protect black criminals. They are hurting the black community. They are not helping them. And it is extremely sad for me to read something like this, to read these type of statistics to you. I'm sure you've heard my voice crack a little bit because it is very, very sad to hear these kind of statistics, that there's people out there making these kind of decisions that are wrong. And then you have the media that is pushing these wrongs out there and is only going to create more of them. As you're seeing these statistics, they're not going down, they're going up. Because of what the media is doing, because of what celebrities are doing, because of what the White House is doing. Why is there no concern about growing violence among black inner city youth that leads to exponentially more lives lost than police shootings, especially when considering how many lives the police save? The media and corporate politicians will shed crocodile tears and feign outrage over the tragic and unnecessary loss of a young life. Yes, it is tragic and unnecessary. If we actually deterred crime in this country, more victims and yes, suspects would be saved. But the tragedy is not the police, it's the criminals themselves and the broken families who raised them. Violent crime is being committed at a younger age, and now more girls are being roped into it. Just last month, a 13-year-old and 15-year-old girl brutally killed an Uber driver in DC during a carjacking. Where is the outrage over that? Well, those suspects will likely be out on the streets no later than their 21st birthday thanks to a plea deal, which is why we will continue to see more of this. Last year, 2 black teens among an entire mob of accomplices beat a white man to death at the Frederick Fair in a racially tinged attack. Yet they will not spend a day in prison. What is self-evident here from the past year is that not only does Black Lives Matter value black people over white people, they value criminals over victims. We will all pay the price moving forward. They're absolutely right. If you're a police officer, in God's name, I don't know why. Because you don't have people other than conservatives and the right that are standing up for you. Yes, there are some Democrats and there are some on the left that support the police and can understand that this shooting was a good shoot and it needed to happen. And they don't buy into this false narrative, but they are on the left. They're Democrats because of other things that they believe in. But this stuff is going nuts. And it's not just the media pushing this type of behavior. There's celebrities that are pushing this type of behavior as well. LeBron James posts a photo of the cop who shot the person. This comes from Ryan Saavedra of the Daily Wire. And if you're not already a subscriber of the Daily Wire, please go over and become a member today. It's conservatives that do work like Blaze Media, Steven Crowder, all those at the Daily Wire. This is why we need to support them, myself included, is because we are pushing a narrative that is pushing back on the media's narrative that America is a racist country. And that's why it is so important to like this video. That is why it's so important that you post it on Reddit. That's why it's so important that you post it on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Leave a comment down below. Is because when we get this pushed out there, the hope is that there are young black men that see this video and go, I don't need to go that direction as these people. I shouldn't be one to contribute to these violent crimes. And again, not just black people, but white people as well. Young white men and women need to see this video, the Daily Wire's videos, Steven Crowder's videos, and see that that is not the direction they need to go to in life. If they don't have a father or vice versa, a mother that is raising them, then they need figures in their life that will point them in the right direction. And it's going to be those conservative values, those Christian Judeo values that is going to help those people out so they don't make wrong decisions like this. So they don't wake up one morning, commit a crime, and then their family wonders why they're 6 feet in the ground dead because they tried to stab somebody in the neck. This is titled LeBron James posts photo of cop who protected black girl from being stabbed. You're next. NBA star LeBron James posted a photograph on social media on Wednesday of the police officer who allegedly shot and killed a 16-year-old girl in Columbus, Ohio, writing, "You're next, #accountability." Michael Woods, the interim police chief of Columbus, said at a press conference that video of the incident showed the female with the knife, who the police officer shot and killed, was attempting to stab another female in the video. James, a left-wing Democrat activist, tweeted out a photograph of the police officer writing, "You're next, accountability." James included an emoji of an hourglass, which is used to signify that time is running out. Isn't that an astonishing thing that you got this guy that plays for the Los Angeles Lakers, arguably maybe the best player in the NBA, either now or ever. I understand there's Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and West, and all that stuff. I get that. But he's out there with massive amount of followers pushing this narrative just as the media does. And you have young black men that look at his account. You have young black men that look up to him, and white men as well. But you have people that are looking up to him. And when you look up to someone, you tend to think that they're always right. You tend to think that their morality is correct. You tend to think that their facts are correct. You think whatever they post are correct, especially as a young man. And he's posting stuff like this, that you are next. It was a good shoot. And this man, meaning LeBron James, King James, is pushing this idea that America is a racist country. Think about that. A guy that is an NBA superstar, is renowned around the globe, is saying that America is a racist system. If America is so racist, how are you one of the top paid NBA stars in the NBA? You are making more money than the vast majority of Americans. But you're going to sit there and push #accountability. Where is your accountability on doing your damn research before you're an idiot and you post something like this on the internet? And you don't apologize for it, by the way, when you're called out for it, because you delete the post, and we'll get to that in a second. Where's your accountability? But you're not going to take the time. Why take the time to research this shit? Why take the time to see if it was a good shoot or a bad shoot? Why take the time to read the statistics? Why take the time to counter your own ideology? Why take the time to do any of that stuff? When you could just post a picture of a police officer and push a narrative that's completely false so that your fans, your followers buy into it and go out there in the streets and do crazy shit. It's so frustrating. It's an uphill battle, and you get tired of talking about this stuff every day, and you try your best to reflect on how there are people out there in this world that can think that America is systemically racist. They can make millions and millions of dollars, be the best player in the NBA, and still think America is systemically racist. You've had a black president. You've had a black attorney general. You have a minority vice president right now, a person of color. You've had an Indian UN ambassador. You have an African UN ambassador. You have African-American senators. You have African-American House of Representatives, congressmen and congresswomen. You have African-American mayors. You have African-American governors. You have African-American CEOs. You have African-American police officers. You have African-American NHL players. You have African-American NBA stars. You have African-American soccer stars. You have, you get where I'm going with this? You have African-American millionaires. I'm stuttering because I'm still years and years of studying this shit. I still can't figure out, and I forgive me for cussing. I need to bleep this stuff out. I just don't understand how you could still make that argument that America is a racist country. Now, are there racist things that happen? Yes. You will always have that until Christ himself comes down and heals everyone. Then you're not going to have it, right? There's no more death, mourning, crying, or pain that you see in Revelation 21. Well, that hasn't happened yet. So you're going to have psychos out there doing psycho stuff. And it doesn't matter your race. White people, black people, Asian people, everybody does psycho stuff at one point. But when you have a famous NBA star pushing a narrative like this, you're not helping anybody, and you're especially not helping the black community. Well, what did LeBron James do? We have Ryan Saavedra again updating this later on in the day. He says LeBron James deletes tweet attacking cop who saved black girl after facing extreme backlash. NBA star LeBron James deleted a tweet shortly after posting it on Wednesday that appeared to demonize a police officer who saved a black girl from being stabbed. God forbid you do something like that. Remember how when you used to save somebody, you used to be called a hero, but now when you're George Floyd and you have a criminal background, you've been in and out of jail multiple times, you're on fentanyl, you have above the 3 limits that it takes to kill somebody, but you're looked at as a hero at that point. So the left's mentality is this. Let's break it down. If you are a criminal, you're a hero. If you are actually a hero that saves lives, you're a criminal and racist. That is why this is so dangerous. The thinking itself is upside down. It's what we call ass backwards. I wish I could make this show fun. But this is such a serious topic that it's tough to make fun, and it's too serious to laugh about at this current moment in time. Maybe later on I'll laugh about it. But when you have people out here that are pushing this kind of narrative, this is how, if this narrative gets pushed even further, and this indoctrination gets pushed forward in our education system, like critical race theory, the 1619 Project, it's only going to get worse. And it's like a virus. It's like a disease. It's going to spread and spread and spread until it's going to get real bad here. You're not going to have a democracy anymore. And you sure in hell aren't going to have a republic. We'll see what happens. We'll see if people wake up after a while. James deleted the tweet after it quickly sparked widespread backlash. James, a left-wing Democrat activist, tweeted a photograph, and I showed it to you already. Michael Woods, the interim police officer of Columbus, said in a press conference, and he just reiterates here that the female had a knife. But what I want to get to here in this article is what other people had to say, notable figures had to say about James's tweet. We have Dana Lausch, and forgive me, I'm mispronouncing her name. She used to be, I think, the spokeswoman for the NRA. She said, apparently the life of the girl nearly stabbed to death didn't matter. According to the left, it doesn't. But Dana's absolutely right. Tom Cotton, LeBron James is inciting violence against an Ohio police officer. This is disgraceful and dangerous. Is the NBA okay with this? Is Twitter? Absolutely right. There's a post here, this next one, that I just absolutely love. Clay Travis says, did you even watch the video, bud? He shot a woman armed with a knife trying to kill an unarmed person. Here's his perspective. This is even more shameful than you shutting up and dribbling for your boy, the chairman of China. So it's just unbelievable how this person can continually make millions of dollars off the backs of Americans paying for a ticket. And he's going to push this narrative that America is systemically racist, an evil country, but then at the same time, not say a single word about the egregious acts that China is putting upon people in their country. He's not going to say a single thing about that, ever. And we're supposed to take this person seriously? We're supposed to listen to LeBron James? The guy's an idiot, clearly. Maybe he should stick with basketball because the dude is just an idiot. And I'm basing that not just on this tweet, on a lot of things this guy has done. But what do I know, right? Well, he's making more money than you, man. The guy's killing it. Yeah, because he can put a ball in a hoop. I know toddlers that can take a ball and just put it inside a hoop. Okay. I played ice hockey for 25 years. I also played basketball. Anybody could do a free throw. It's not that hard. Stand up on skates, skate 25 miles an hour, dribble a puck at the same time, if you want to call it dribble to make the connection, and try to put it in the net. Let me know how that works out for you. Moving on here, it's not just LeBron James. It's not just the media, but you also have the White House involved in this as well. The White House itself thinks America is systemically racist. At what point are they going to change the name of the White House? There's a little joke, right? Just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit here. But this comes from our friends over at Louder with Crowder. It is titled, White House Shows True Colors, Repeats False Narrative About Columbus Shooting. It starts off by saying there was an officer involved shooting in Columbus, Ohio on Monday. One girl was attacking another with a knife, and after multiple warnings to the assailant, the officer was forced to discharge his weapon and protect the victim. The media has already started pushing a false narrative that this was a race-related incident. The White House had the opportunity to correct the narrative, meaning they gave them a chance. They threw them a softball and set the record straight. It would have been the responsible thing to do, especially when emotions are still running high over the Derek Chauvin verdict. It would have been the responsible thing to do, but this is the Joe Biden White House, and Jen Psaki had the floor. Let's see what Jen Psaki had to say.
Go ahead.
Hi, Jen. Taylor Poplars with Spectrum News. Three quick questions. I'll make them quick. First, has the president been briefed on 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant being shot and killed by police in Columbus, Ohio yesterday? It happened moments before the Chauvin verdict came out.
Yes. I said to you yes, and let me just say, since you gave me the opportunity, the killing of 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant by the Columbus police is tragic. She was a child. We're thinking of her friends and family and the communities that are hurting and grieving her loss. We know that police violence disproportionately impacts Black and Latino people in communities, and that Black women and girls, like Black men and boys, experience higher rates of police violence. We also know that there are particular vulnerabilities that children in foster care like Ma'Khia face. And her death came, as you noted, just as America was hopeful of a step forward after the traumatic and exhausting trial of Derek Chauvin and the verdict that was reached. So our focus is on working to address systemic racism and implicit bias head-on, and of course to passing laws and legislation that will put much-needed reforms into place at police departments around the country.
And has the president been briefed on it?
Yes.
Okay. And then also
Let's just go over what Jen Psaki had to say one more time. So our focus is working on to address systemic racism and implicit bias head on. And of course, to passing laws and legislation that will put much needed reforms into place in police departments around the country. Pushing the narrative of systemic racism when race had nothing to do with the shooting. It was, at the end of the day too, it was a black on black crime. Like, it was a black woman trying to stab another black woman. You had a black guy kick another, I think it was a black lady, in the head. All happening on camera in front of the police officers. And you're going to say this had something to do with racism because the officer so happened to be white and he saved someone's life. The guy's a hero. But not according to LeBron James, not according to the left, not according to Democrats, not according to Joe Biden, not according to Kamala Harris, not according to Jen Psaki. Do you see where I'm going with this? Not according to Nancy Pelosi, not according to Maxine Waters. The list goes on with Democrats. You have elected officials that think this country is racist. But they're elected officials. They're if in the highest branch of federal government here. And they're representing people of all races and creeds. Like, it blows my mind. Here's what Psaki should have said, okay? Let me be the White House press secretary for one moment, okay? This is what should have happened. Reporter, any comment on the Columbus shooting with the cop and the 2 kids? This is what a press secretary is supposed to say, folks. You ready? Not hard. You ready for this? Yes, while any death is tragic and we wait for more details to come in, right now it looks like the police officer's split-second action may have saved a girl from being stabbed to death. We encourage all Americans, particularly our supporters, to take a deep breath with this one. Why is that so hard? Why is it so hard to take the wherewithal to say something like that? Or at least think about it and then have it come out of your mouth, Jen Psaki? Instead of you want to be terrible press secretary? If you're seeing me fumble through my words, it's because I want to say something, but I know on camera I shouldn't, so I better put the PG version out. It's as if I have like split personalities. My mind is saying, Brad, say this, but then my rational part of my mind saying this is what's supposed to come out, and it's happening all at the same time. Thankfully, what's supposed to come out in the appropriate version comes out. Thank the Lord. But there you have it. The White House is not supporting this police officer. Why would they? It goes against the narrative. The guy saved someone's life. Why would they push that when their whole ideology is built around America being systemically racist? And you're destroying the social fabric. You're further dividing this nation. You're not bringing us together. And I've talked about this at length. Joe Biden is supposed to be the great unifier. He's the one that's supposed to bring everybody together. And you know who said that before him? Think about it. African American. Starts with Barack. Ends with Obama. Said the exact same thing. He's going to be the great unifier. It's just, how does an African American man become president if we are systemically racist? How did he beat out the system? Doesn't say in his book. Doesn't say in his massive memoir that he wrote that's hundreds of pages long and things freaking bigger than the Bible. Doesn't say it in there. What's the key, Brock, so we can let it be known to all minorities? How'd you do it? How'd you beat the system, Brock? What the hell do we know, though? It's sad, guys. It's a sad disease, and it's not good for African American men or really anybody at the end of the day, because you're going to have people that aren't going to try in school. They're not going to try to better themselves because what for? You have an entire system that's going against you. You have police officers that are hunting you down in the streets that want to kill you. That's their main goal. They're going to wake up in the morning, kiss their kids, strap that police belt on, throw in their firearm, and just have the mentality of all day, I'm going to go hurt somebody. That's what these people think's actually happening. And it's sad to see. It's sad to see, but the White House isn't going to fix anything. The White House doesn't have any intention on fixing anything, guys. I don't know if you've noticed. They say they do, right, by spending $2.3 trillion. Oh, money's gonna fix everything, right? Spend $86 million on illegal immigrants going in hotels. Money's going to fix everything. Money does not fix anything. You need to fix the individual and the individual choices that are being made to have any sort of change in this country. But when you're constantly pushing a false narrative, you're not helping the situation. If anything, you're throwing gasoline on the fire with it. The White House had a great moment here. They had a really great moment to stand up and fix this. LeBron James, too, had a great moment to stand up and fix it as well. But the idiot wanted to just go out and become the victim, right? On that deleted tweet. It's just unbelievable. There's just people that roam this earth that have this thinking. I mean, I'm sure they say the same thing about me, right? You know, oh, this guy doesn't have a clue. He hasn't lived in my shoes. You know, he's just probably a racist and all these other things. When I care about the African American community. You know, again, your race does not matter to me at all. It didn't matter to Jesus either. It doesn't matter to God. We are all human beings. We're all trying to live a good life here. We're all trying to fix our own mistakes. I've made a ton of mistakes in the past. I am not perfect. I am far from perfect. I've made a ton of mistakes. But it's a scary time because any of your mistakes could get you banished, could get you silenced. You know, that's why you need forgiveness from people, but there's no forgiveness either. There's no forgiveness. We are in such a bad place in our country. We are still the greatest country on the face of this planet, but you have people out there that are going to try and change that and destroy it. It just so happens it's our own American citizens. So our last news story of the day comes from our friends over at Blaze Media. It is written by Breck Dumas. It is titled, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey declares state of emergency over border crisis, deploys National Guard. As always, I told you guys I'd keep you up to date on what is happening with the U.S. Immigration crisis that is happening with basically Joe Biden not doing a single thing. Kamala Harris still hasn't been down there, guys. Still has not been. We're almost through April. So let me know in the comments. Let's do a little, like, not like a poll, but let's gamble a little bit here. In the comments, write down what month you think Kamala Harris or Joe Biden will go down to the U.S.-Mexico border and visit it. I don't think it's going to happen for another 3 months. So what are we in? April, May, June, July. I think it's going to happen maybe in the fall. I'm going to say September. That's my guess. So in the comments, let me know what you think. What month do you think Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, either or, will go down to the U.S.-Mexico border and evaluate the situation? I mean, actually go look at the border wall, the facilities, things like that. I'm thinking September. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe not at all. Who knows? It starts out by saying Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, Republican, has issued a declaration of emergency and the deployment of National Guard troops to the state's southern border to assist local law enforcement with the overwhelming influx of illegal immigrants pouring into the U.S. from Mexico. The details are this. Ducey's office announced a state of emergency Tuesday, saying that the state will provide up to $25 million in initial funding for the mission. That entails up to 250 guardsmen assisting the border communities by providing medical care in detention centers, installing surveillance cameras, and other services. Lovely. So now we're just tacking on another $25 million for this problem, all thanks to Joe Biden because he wants to be an idiot and not know how to run things. And he is an idiot on some things. I'm not saying everything the guy is dumb on, okay? But in this regard, in this specific instance, because I'm able to remove certain instances from one another, the left aren't, in this instance, he is acting like an idiot. The media release noted that U.S. Customs and Border Protection saw more than 170,000 apprehensions at the U.S. southern border in March. Nearly 19,000 of which were unaccompanied children, more than 4 times the number of kids apprehended in March 2020. You guys, 19,000 people would fill a sports arena, and that's just of children. The situation in our border communities is just as bad, if not worse, than the coverage we've been seeing, the governor said in a statement. That does not shock me. I've said that on my show. Is that we're only seeing certain photos and we know it's probably worse. And I was attributing that to the detention facilities. But you've seen people in my comment section saying that I live in Texas. This stuff is terrible. You've seen me talk about how they're dropping these illegal immigrants off in towns. And they say, whoa, like this, the town declares a state of emergency. So not only are the towns declaring states of emergency, the state itself is declaring a state of emergency. So everybody's just declaring state of emergency. Joe Biden can't figure out what's going on. It's like when the fire alarm goes off in the hotel room. Oh, what is it? Jen, what is it? The guy doesn't have a clue if he's going to hear the fire alarm at all. Clearly, maybe not, because the guy hasn't done anything to help solve the U.S.-Mexico border. He's still removing Trump policies, by the way. Like, just the other week, the guy stopped another one, right? I think the most recent thing he's doing is he's banning the term, remember, illegal alien and the word assimilation in the documents that are supposed to be provided to him because he wants the United States to be more inclusive. What a great way to spend your time, right? Not thinking about how you could stop illegal immigration, but going, hey, how can we fix the paperwork on this stuff to make it seem like it's more inclusive? That's where our president's at, folks. He then hit out at the Biden administration's failure to act on the crisis, saying, it's become evidently clear that Arizona needs the National Guard, and the White House is aware of that. Yet to this day, there's been no action from the administration and doesn't look like they're going to act anytime soon. If this administration isn't going to do anything, then we will. Fox News reported that Ducey's move is supported by both the state's Democratic U.S. Senators, Kristen Sinema, forgive me, I'm definitely mispronouncing her name, and Mark Kelly, who wrote a joint letter urging fellow Democrat President Joe Biden to reimburse their state for the deployment of the Guard. And, if you have Democrats on board on this, things are bad, right? Things are so bad. We're like, yep, this isn't good. This is terrible. We're actually getting hit really hard with this stuff. We need to change. And when they're joining up with a Republican to go against the narrative of the left and the Democrats, things are really, really bad at the U.S.-Mexico border, not just for Arizona, not just for California, but for Texas as well. And I know I'm beating this thing like a dead horse in every episode, but this is an important issue for conservatives and also for Democrats, because we need to protect our nation. It's about protecting the people inside, not necessarily protecting the people on the outside. Build the border wall, put in the policies in place. If you do those things, you can have a conversation with Republicans. I think we're all pretty clear on this, that, hey, look, if you build a nice wall, a huge wall, you increase border security, we could talk about the illegal aliens that are in this country now. You stop the bleeding. Now we can really start healing in that regard, and maybe healing is giving amnesty to those 11 million people, being done with it. Look, you stop the bleeding. We don't have to worry about it ever again. We fix the issue. Let's move forward here. Now, I know some of you conservatives are like, hell no, not giving amnesty to 11 million, blah, 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 all those things. I get that. All I'm saying is the conversation can be started about what we can do with those that are in here illegally, whether that's getting their paperwork in, having them show up to their court dates, deporting them, or whatever it may be. We need to get that border wall built, stop the bleeding, stop the flooding of illegal immigrants coming into this country trying to seek asylum when they know damn well they don't get asylum. I know we can blame, they're not educated. I know we can say that, they were told something wrong. Well, that's the fault of their government. That's the fault also of some of our people pushing a false narrative like the media does, like celebrities are doing, but they don't care. They don't care about putting America first like Trump did. They don't care about putting America first like conservatives do. It's all about other people, you guys. It's all about other people. But that is the news today. I am sorry it was a doom and gloom episode. It is for me too, because you read this stuff, and especially as an educator, I have all races in my classroom. I care about all those students. Every single one of them I care about. Am I able to actually help every single one of them? No, because it's a two-way street. You have to want help. You know what I mean? You have to actually receive it. If you're dying of water, I can give you as much water as you want, but you have to be the one to drink it. So not everybody wants to help. Not everybody wants to better their lives. I know that sounds like a crazy statement, but that is true. And when you have the media, you have celebrities, you have your own federal government, you have everybody going against you, it's tough to continually fight that. And you notice I'm not saying systemic. You notice I'm not using those words that the left are using, because I don't think it's systemic. I don't. Not all media outlets are doing this. Not all celebrities are doing this. Not all government officials are doing this. It's not systemic. We can fight and overcome this. And it starts by us individuals, us conservatives, supporting one another like you all do with me. And I've said that so many times that I'm so appreciative of all of you guys leaving me comments. I love how you guys are ripping me on my Nike hat. It's a fair criticism. I get it. The hat looks good. I have a weird shaped head. Like my head is extremely small. I know it's an excuse, but there's only so many hats that fit me. So even those Nike hats, they're really the only hat that does fit me really well. But hey, it's a fair criticism. It's why you don't see the hat anymore. Or if you do see the hat, it's not gonna have the Nike logo on it. Maybe I'm gonna put American flag on it. Maybe that's what I'm working on right now. But in all lightheartedness, let's work together here to get out conservative ideas so that hopefully, people that are less fortunate than others will be able to see this and hopefully rise up against the narrative and change their lives for the better and actually make good decisions and be extremely prosperous in America and be extremely successful, and then share those same ideas that allowed them to be successful with other people that were like them in their own milieu. Notice it has nothing to do with race. White people, Asian people, African American people, wherever you're from, you need to be successful and make the correct decisions. But that is all the news I have for you today, folks. I want to thank you so much for watching the Bald Brad Show. As always, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you enjoyed this show, even though it's a doom and gloom show, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. It does help me, as well as push my video out there to viewers who have not seen my videos or my content. Also, that bell notification, guys, make sure you hit it, because we have a special episode of the Bald Brad Show coming out this Saturday with none other than Arthur Quan Lee. He's a famous artist. He's a famous conservative artist. He's been on shows like Jesse Lee Peterson, as well as many other shows. So I was very fortunate to be able to have him come on the Bald Brad Show. He's an amazing person. He's an intellectual. He's not just a painter. He's an intellectual. This guy knows his stuff. He knows how to talk. I learned so much from him, and I want you to learn from him as well. So if you hit that bell notification, you'll be notified when we go live. And with that being said, have a lovely day, everyone. Take care of yourself. Take care of your families. Love one another. And I'll see you here tomorrow on the Bald Brad Show.